WIlcox.
Hi, this is Ryan O'Dowd. Can you hear me?
Hi, Ryan. Yes. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great. Right, how are you tonight?
Doing good. Just,
Good.
sorry. So, I'm just letting you know I'm recording this because that way makes it easier to transcribe later.
Of course.
Now, I know almost dropped my phone.
Don't do that.
I know very little about you, other than that you made this really cool piece of art the other day.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I've made a few more.
I figured as much.
Sure, thanks, Ryan. No, I have. I'm also a musician. Have a bunch of albums out, and yeah,
well, let me start here.
Sure, of course.
Number one, this is easy. What's your name, and where are you located in space?
Oh, Ed Wilcox, currently in Philadelphia, Murder City, USA. And but not originally. But I'm originally from Florida.
Okay, now what brought you from the sunny beaches of Florida up to the cold, murderous wastes of Philadelphia?
Oh, well, when I was young, we moved around a lot when I was young, and then I had moved back to Florida, and then well, I must be the worst tour guide in the world, man. I fell in love with a Philadelphia girl. But I could not convince her that Miami was nicer than Philadelphia. I don't know what the hell I was doing wrong there. But so I'm here.
Is she still in the picture?
Not really, sorta.
All right. Well,
I'm stuck here.
I'll leave that.
I have custody of the cat, which is most important.
Oh, that's the most important thing.
There you go.
So you're a cat guy.
Sure.
I love cats.
Well, they pick you. So.
Oh, that's true.
That's how it goes. But yeah, so that's it. Although hoping to get back down south sometime soon. Maybe not for a year or two, but sometime soon. Yeah.
So, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
1963, 58, I think. 58, I think.
All right.
Soon to be 59.
And whenabouts did you settle in Philadelphia?
Well, off and on. My parents split up when I was a teenager. So I got sent to boarding school. Oh. My mother's family was from Philadelphia, so I got sent to boarding school in Philadelphia, and
that's a unique experience.
It was great. Actually, my boarding school, it was late 70s, early 80s. It was just Animal House, Beavis and Butthead. I cannot believe. It was just anarchy, and it was great. And then I went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, so I was very lucky there. Got a bunch of awards and stuff as a picture painter.
So you got into art at an early age.
Oh yeah, I think even my mother had these, as mothers do, had all these boxes of just scribbles that I had done as an infant. Before I remember anything, I was apparently trying to make pictures and stuff. So So yeah. And then I was very fortunate. I was accepted into some fancy colleges, but my father's alimony was paying the college. So the academy at the time, which was like the best art school in the world, was only $1,200 a year, while as like Swarthmore College and stuff, that was like $20,000. So it was like, well, son, maybe you should follow your dream there. Go to art school. So I was very lucky there, and had some wonderful old teachers. I think a lot of times art school is wasted, especially on young people, as I was. But I sort of realized, like, towards the end, I've got some great teachers. I have these old guys that studied with Hans Hofmann and guys like that. And I'm like, wait, I should probably pay attention to what they were saying. And so, even though I'm not sure if what I'm doing right now quite shows that, but I was lucky. I learned I can paint, a person that looks like a real person if need be, and that's a useful skill to have. So
yeah. So I really enjoyed the work that I saw. It reminded me. It's vaguely reminiscent, not derivative, but vaguely reminiscent of like certain Victorian kind of illustrations.
Oh, who I love. I mean, there's. Did you ever hear of this guy called Sidney Syme? He was contemporaries with like Arthur Rackham and Edmund Dulac, those guys. Syme was one of those great illustrators around like 1900. Syme was just whacked out, though. Syme was like, oh my God! If you look at my Syme, Sidney Syme, and I do love a lot of that stuff,
Yeah. It also has like again, kind of vaguely psychedelic quality to it as well. I don't know if that's informing you at all.
No, sure. Well, I think it's maybe because I'm old. I was lucky. I've studied the great masters. I can paint like Velasquez and stuff. Akins and those guys. But I kind of grew up in the '70s when record albums were still a big thing, and you had all those great artists like David Stone Martin, who did all the great jazz album covers, and Roger Dean, who did all those Yes album covers, and so certainly I think for a lot of people, my generation, that was still there was so much art and care, on the packaging of those things that, I'm sure that it certainly rubbed off on you.
That mimetic imagery was around, sort of.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yes, yeah. And, sure. Oh, I still love Roger Dean. He's great. I don't know if you know what he does now? He does these great lectures where he rages against modern architecture, and he's 100% correct. He blames the Bauhaus for like all the evils of the world, and I'm like, I think he might have a point there. They're great. They're great. Yeah.
So, what? How do you describe your style, like in your own words?
Gosh, I don't.
I know.
Landscape. I don't. Gosh, That's a tough one, you know, because
Now, would you say that the picture that I've shared qualifies as a landscape? Is a landscape of a certain kind?
Sure, sure. You know, I don't know. Certainly a lot of my heroes were from the Cobra group, if you know those.
Tell me about it.
Great. Oh, the Cobra, you know those painters, if you study, they were kind of rivals. They're from Europe. Copenhagen, Brussels, and Amsterdam.
Okay.
In the 40s and 50s. And they're kind of rivals. You don't see them much in America because they were kind of rivals of the abstract expressionists. But the Cobra group
As
were
in, like the snake, the cobra.
Yeah. And they artists like Oscar Jorn, Jorn.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing them. I pulled them up here. I'm taking a look at.
Oh
this.
yeah, it looks like kind of like. At first, you might think it's kids' paintings, but they were actually very good. You know,
sure.
They're pretty talented.
Yeah, it's
guys,
definitely
but,
abstract, sort of broken down in a way, broken down like to bare essentials, sort of. I'd say.
Yeah, and you know, figurative. It's always figurative, which I think they had some good points about sometimes pure abstract art. It's a little easy to kind of dismiss it, you know. But if you have any kind of figure, then people are like, "Oh, what's that? Why did he draw the person looking like that?"
I'm looking at. Yes, yeah, it's a common kind of misapprehension people have about abstract art that I guess like the uninitiated can put it off a little bit, but this gives you something more specific to look at. I'm looking at this piece right now. It says is it Karl Appel? Is that how you pronounce the name?
Yeah, Dutch painter. He was great Dutch artist. He was really into jazz music too. Well, I guess all the Cobras were. They definitely came. I think like a lot of young European guys in the 40s and 50s went after living under fascism, all of a sudden, bam, they heard Dizzy Gillespie, and they were just wow. And and I'm also a jazz musician, you know. So
you are.
I am.
What instrument do you play? Predominantly?
I'm a drummer. Used to be a vocalist. I've played throughout the world, you know, and led my own band for a long time.
What's the name of the group? I'm sorry.
Temple of Bonnetan. And we had about 10 records out, very loud. Temple of Bonnetan was like loud. It was like, you know, we were the loudest band that ever played CBGBs. We were loud, but I've also played with. I spent years working with. You know who Marshall Allen is? He leads the Sun Ra Orchestra.
Oh, great!
Yeah, so I spent a number of years with him and with Arthur Doyle, great free jazz saxophone player.
I love Sun Ra.
Yes. Well, I could some other time. I could tell you some. Marshall has some stories to tell. Marshall's probably been leading the orchestra longer than Sun Ra did at this point.
Oh, that's right. You're in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I used to live actually kind of close to him, but we did a number of tours of Europe and stuff. It was nice to. We'd be roommates actually on the road. We'd wake up and, you know, some hotel in Antwerp, lean over. Oh my God, there's Marshall Allen. Oh.
Amazing.
And yes, a wonderful guy. Had some funny stories about the orchestra. But but the Cobra Group. Back to the Cobra Group.
Yes, I'm looking at this piece called "The Flower and the Birds." Just off the name, do you recognize it?
Sure.
Yeah, it's definitely intriguing to me.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'd say maybe there's certainly a lot of jazz in it. A lot of the Cobras were very important. They were, and maybe still are. The big thing. There were all these sort of artists' movements, and especially in Europe in the 100 years ago, and they had all these manifestos and stuff, and they were always,
Of course.
The Cobras were the first guys to kind of say, this is just stiflingly dull, and they kind of they saw that there was kind of becoming this disconnect between artists and just regular folks.
Yeah.
Which I think, unfortunately, there still is, But, there's this kind of, that the idea, art is medicine, and the worse it tastes, the better it is for you. And the Cobras were like, no. So they were, the Cobras were, it's okay to be happy, which is scandalized. I think still scandalized many people in the art world, just a sort of a love of life, and they were some of the first pop artists. They loved. They were influenced by comic books and film posters, and I think that that's something that I share. I'm a very blue collar kind of guy. I work. I drive truck and handle steel most of the day. I wear a hard hat.
Right.
So
Yeah, this piece that I'm looking at, I've been reflecting on what you're saying, and the first thing I definitely wanted to say is it definitely. I was going to say it has a joy in it that it's not typical of a lot of abstract expressionism, for one thing.
Yes.
And it sort of has a technical symmetry with abstract expressionism, but it's definitely more playful, and and it also it's got the flatness, like the dimensional flatness of an abstract expressionist, but it seems, at least the piece I'm looking at, it looks like they built up in layers, like maybe even crepe paper before they painted on it. It's like it.
Oh, that could be. I know there was some. Oscar Yorn did a great series of what the hell did he do? He would go and he would go find like posters where guys would put up movie posters on the walls of like the city, and he would rip them down, and then he would start almost like shredding, cutting, and tearing in his image, because there might be like 100 different colorful posters glued on top of each other, and he would sort of tear them apart, making a drawing like that.
Absolutely.
But I think just in general, just a you mentioned the word joy. I think that's fine. I have no problem with it's not that I consciously try to do that. I don't sit and say, oh, let me paint something happy, but I don't sit and try to paint something unhappy. I had a show a while ago in San Antonio.
Yes.
And and it was great town, and the art gallery, the curator, he came up to me and he said, a lot of people are really upset by your lack of irony. And, so it was great. I thought, sure,
Yes.
But yeah, it's I do think it's kind of sad that there's sort of this, just simple, I the idea that artists, were supposed to be kind of looking down on, you like my art? Well, obviously I'm doing something wrong, and I don't even want to be in the same room with you, because I think that's a terrible, damaging tragedy, and because God, you look at people in our country, everybody in the world, we really need not to overdo it, but we need to replace this horrible, shallow consumerism with happiness, and people just getting a little more in touch with their lives and what really makes you happy.
Yeah, there is something childlike about this work that
sure.
Not like childish, but childlike.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Well, Jorn said, my work looks like a child, but children don't paint like me. No,
That's true.
And well, if you ever get a chance, if you go over to Europe, the museums over there, if you go to like Holland, they're like Jackson Pollock. Never heard of them. There you go. Here's a Carl Apple. So they were. It is weird the way the kind of the art market works, and how certain people are famous in certain regions and countries.
I guess there's a nationalism in all of it, unfortunately, in how you display it. I guess because it's expensive to build a museum, so you build the museum, and then because I myself have kicked around not the world, but around the country a bit. And there is you go to Cincinnati or you go to Richmond, they got really great art museums. But it's like you're gonna see a Jackson Pollock in all of them. You're gonna see a Salvador Dali in all of them. It's interesting how that works.
You're right. It is. So, but yeah, I think that some of the Cobras were great influence on me, and I think also I try not to really mix my painting and my music, but probably musically too. With Temple of Barmatan, we were considered an avant-garde band, but we were totally into heavy metal and just
right.
Back, especially back in the 90s, when it was very unfashionable to be into Dio, and they're like, nah, we like it. We like this stuff. I don't know if it's good or bad, but we like it, and so it's gonna come slow. And and the same I think with painting. I don't know if Roger Dean will ever be in the Museum of Modern Art, but I liked Roger Dean, so if you look at a lot of that stuff, it's obviously gonna show up in what you're doing,
Oh, absolutely. Let me. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking.
Sure.
This is great.
You gotta check out Sidney Syme. Now that guy, man, he was cool. His stuff, and I think with him,
SIME?
SIME, yeah, SIME, yeah.
Oh yeah, this is like intricate.
Yeah. Well, I also do have a great love of like Persian and Mughal Indian art. Those miniatures from like the 1500s, and it's very intricate. And I also love the way that those paintings, they often look like 5 or 6 different artists did them. You're like, no, how come the bird looks like it was painted by a different artist than whoever painted the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something which I love and which I find really liberating.
Sure.
I probably have a style, but I try not to really have a style. You just
absolutely.
You just go with whatever you feel like. A lot of my stuff is collage. I do all the images myself, but I might have a drawing that I did a year ago, and I'm like, oh wait, this little guy that I just drew here, I need to glue him on top of this old thing there. So you'll probably get,
absolutely,
that quality of, maybe it doesn't always look like it was done by the same hand, but oh yeah, Sidney Syme, that guy, he deserves a lot more attention. Those are just bananas.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, fun, very entertaining stuff. And he's good. But
yeah, it isn't quite just one thing.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's good too. I like to give people, you give the audience their money's worth. You don't want them just to look at your painting one time. And, a lot of times you go to like these museums and you'll see people they'll walk through it and basically all they'll do is they'll read the little caption about the painting, and then they'll look at the painting for like a second, and they'll just walk through and they'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
But really, you want people to look. It should be something that appeals to your eye, and hopefully, if they look at the thing tomorrow, they'll see something a little different. It's I want my work to be kind of conversational.
Sure.
Maybe that's also where jazz comes in too, because jazz is again, you're up on stage with the other musicians, and you're not just running down the tune. You're like, you're really trying to pull stuff out of each other, and it can be very very quick-witted, and
absolutely,
so. But tell me a little bit about yourself. So I imagine you're probably an artist yourself.
Yes, I am. I am an artist, cool, and I am also a musician.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your pictures.
Yeah. So what I've been working on the past few years is kind of paintings that combine. I use watercolor and marker.
Yeah.
And I like to use paint markers as well. And and I kind of compose pictures that have the kind of flat quality but kind of bright colors and metallic colors of like an icon, like a religious icon, with the more of the sort of neons of like a psychedelic poster.
Yeah, sure.
I I do it on watercolor paper, and I as my subjects I pick figures that have influenced me, and then also like they'll sneak my friends into the paintings as well.
Yeah. Good.
And I'm really into iconography and the idea of the image as a kind of internal statement, almost like it's a word or something. And
okay.
And then I also I use asemic language, which is basically just like script or font, but not making any discernible, like,
sure,
so that because I come from a graphic design background, so
gotcha, yeah. I have a friend who's really into Austin Spare.
Yes,
you know that guy.
Yes,
they're brilliant, but there's a lot of like these weird, like he would do these weird calligraphy things, which I'm not sure that I don't even want it. That guy was painting demons like from life. I'm like, he was amazing artist. But I can't. Don't look at them before you go to bed. But but fascinating. But I was.
But the colors that you use in your piece that I shared.
Yeah.
Are colors I would use in a lot of my pieces.
Sure, man. Yeah.
Like the bright blues and maybe like a chalky yellow.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are just I think I also when I was younger I did a lot of posters back when bands still had posters, and you'd put them up around the city, so I did a lot of that stuff. So but cool. even when I was at the academy, one thing that was great about the academy was there was a show every month. We had a student exhibit, and they'd pick the best painting, and I just started entering like every single one of them. And there was like, you learned like you're going to see my work across the room. I don't care. I usually work kind of small, but I was like, oh no, you're going to see this down the block. So
exactly.
So crank it up, as much as you can. And,
right.
Which it's the
word's stunning, like not in like. I know that word also has like a kind of appreciation quality to it, but I mean really in the sense of stunning someone.
Oh yeah, eye-catching. Yeah, sure. I think that's very. But I did when I was younger. I was really into Frank Auerbach, very British. He's still alive. Probably the greatest British painter of the 20th century. Very, very. Sort of looks like Cézanne. Very formal, but he was like, you try to. I'm trying to think if he used the word iconic. He might have said heraldic.
Yes.
Yeah, but like some knight's shield that you would see across the field of battle. Oh, that's that guy. Okay, bam, But I think there's nothing wrong with that, And
oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely likes colors.
That's interesting. Now, how come this is something maybe a theme. I'm trying to talk about my word, but I've always, I've sort of, it's not nice. People say my stuff is sort of mythological often, but I'm not sure. I could see it, but it's really what interests me isn't so much mythology. It's more before that? Like, how did, it could
Yes.
be primitive people, but it could even be somebody now, like that storytelling
Well, it's
urge,
like
like,
legendary, sort of. It's like it's in
sure,
because you have things where like the face of one animal will be presented on a different sort of figure, or
sure,
and it does it so it has a quality that you'll see in lots of. I get what they say by mythological, but not like Greek myths, but like
yeah. No, it's very much like, just like wondering, why some, ancient person, looked up at the sky and said, I don't think that's empty. I think that there's a fish that lives up there, and every day a little girl hits it with a stick. Okay, just this whole, where is all this stuff coming from? That urge, not so much the finished product of a mythology, but the the why did we even start thinking about that?
Right.
And again, and like an icon, like what gives an icon power? Is it something that we're putting into it, or is it something that's coming just right back at us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I follow what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of if I'm gonna get highfalutin about it, that's kind of like what an artist does, is
sure,
at least presents these things to people that might one day make up, the sort of characters that become a culture or something like that, or the ideas that become a culture, or
Yes, there was. I think again it was Auerbach who said, "If a great painting is like, you finish this painting, you did it, or maybe a friend, and you just the minute you finish creating that image, you're like, well, how did the world get along before we had this? like bam, there, this is something. How do what was the world like before this picture was created?
Absolutely.
And yeah, definitely. Creating that generator.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your music.
Yeah. I'm working on an album right now, but my music is it kind of combines. There's a synthetic element that I have like programmed synthesizer, and that is, and then there's my singing, and then there's also like an improvisatory element live where I will do like extended periods of like blended sound art kind of stuff, or ambience, and I also play a keyboard, which you can kind of say plays a sort of jazz-esque kind of thing during those interludes. Sure. But then it kind of locks into a more experimental industrial sound during the actual songs, like I said. But there's I sing a pop melody too, because I feel like I should give that to people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was sort of almost briefly in a group called the Silver Apples, if you know who they were.
I do know who they were.
There you go. I actually kind of ended up turning them down. That's another long story, but I did. Yeah. Well, there was a reunion, and I'm like, well, there was only two guys in Silver Apple, so one of them's here, and he didn't seem to have been calling the other guy about the reunion. And I'm like, well, if I join this band, that other guy might show up,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting, one of
yeah.
It was a nice
they were one of the first sort of synth rock bands in a way.
Oh yeah. It used to take Simeon I think 2 days to set up his gear.
Oh
It was
my
all.
God.
It wasn't even like a keyboard. He was doing stuff that worked from like old telegraph switches.
Oh wow.
And I think he would, I don't know if he was soldering stuff like every single show. I don't think they really played that many gigs. I mean,
Yeah,
like 4 or 5.
they are legendary though.
But
Yeah,
yes. When I was with him, he just had a couple like simple, like the simplest keyboards you get at Sam Ash or Guitar Center or whatever,
right.
And he wasn't really even a very knowledgeable keyboard. It was like, okay, he had like all these little pieces of colored tape, like, okay, for this song, they'd be like the yellow tape, and it'd be like 1 over this key, and then 2, okay, and then for this song you get a red tape. That's but it was a story for another evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that sounds good. I'll try to check out some of your music.
Yeah, let me wait until I finish this album, and I'll drop it in your messages.
No problem.
Because this is the first one I've worked on in years. Because pre all the disease and everything, the COVID.
Yes. Yeah. No, I've got a bunch of stuff I'm working on right now. Well, I mean, I was sort of lucky, coming up in the '90s when they still actually made albums. So. Oh
yeah.
I did get a bunch of stuff out, and then the bottom dropped out, and then yeah, and then it's been really hard to perform for a while, although I'm starting to, and I'm actually very fortunate. This jazz group that I'm in place a lot. But,
that's cool.
Yeah, but I'm doing a lot of fake Ginger Baker stuff.
Sure.
Which is and
classic.
Recording tracks, sending them off to people around the world.
That's amazing.
I'll probably never meet, but they seem to. There seems to be a lack of fake Ginger Baker out there, and I'm there. You go. I got you covered.
Ginger Baker was absolutely one of the best drummers, rock drummers, certainly.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great.
He played with Fela Kuti too. He played with Fela Kuti, which I always thought was cool.
Yeah. It was Fela. Well, if you ever get a chance, I think you can probably see it on YouTube. It's only about a half-hour film. It's called Ginger Baker Goes to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from about 1970. And he just gets, he's cranked out of his gourd. He gets like a Range Rover, and he just drives all the way through Europe, drives through the Sahara Desert down to Lagos, Nigeria. and you're like, and at first you're thinking, oh, he's a courageous wild man. He's going to darkest Africa. And then you're like, oh my God, those poor Africans. This freaking lunatic is. But there's some nice footage of Fela, him jamming a bit with Fela, but also Tony Allen, who was a great drummer. He was really Fela's band leader.
Nice.
And Twins 77. There's some great footage of Twins 77, who was also a band leader from Nigeria, but also a great artist who I like very much, and died recently. But if you ever get a chance, Twins 77. He was an African prince. He might have been, the seventh born, but his twin brother died or something. But his name was Twins 77, and he did some great illustrations for My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, the great African writer. There's an African writer. died about 10 years ago. He wrote 4 or 5 great books, The Palm Wine Drinkers. And they're very, they're just amazing. They're kind of written in like pidgin English, but they're just phenomenal. They're like, a little boy who gets killed in a war, and then he just wanders around purgatory, drinking Coca-Cola, and what the heck, phenomenal.
Yeah, this is really good. I'm looking at this right now.
Oh, Twin 77?
Yeah.
Love them. Great stuff. Yeah. He was phenomenal artist and interesting guy. I think he died a couple of years ago, and I'm thinking he spent much of his life as a school janitor here in Philadelphia.
Oh my goodness.
I would have loved to have met with him. It's interesting that African society, it's your power was basically achieved by how much you could give away. So he would work for like a year, as a janitor, and then he'd go back to Nigeria and he'd spend $20,000 on a huge party and give away all of his money, and everybody would think, "Oh, you're the best guy. You must be a great leader." And then he'd go back to Philadelphia and mop up, until school for another year.
Gosh,
amazing! Yes, amazing that way of thinking. Yeah, great guy, right? And I'm just again an artist who one of my favorites. Yeah.
There's lots of good stuff here.
Oh yeah, he's a good one. Yeah. So that's about it. I'm trying to.
Yeah,
think,
I mean, I didn't want to push you off or anything, but this is getting to be about.
Oh no, I'd be happy to talk. I think for me it's just trying to be positive. And I'll tell you real briefly. I've often lived in kind of 2 different worlds. I've often lived in sort of the high art, highfalutin world. But really, I'm just a guy who, hangs steel, And I'll tell you, I've had some success, nice shows, art shows in New York and stuff, I don't know if you've ever found this, when from the highfalutin art scene, you have some success, and it's always like, oh, well, that's good. F you, Cal,
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's the guys on the loading dock and the old lady that's the secretary in the back room who, oh, where's your show? We want to come. And I had a show about 2 years ago, right before COVID really wiped everything out, and it was amazing. I talked to the gallery owner, and I feel horrible. He was like flabbergasted. Forgive me for saying it. He said, "Well, all these poor black people kept coming to the gallery to look at your work. I'd never, And they said they knew you. Like, oh, God forbid, you should
right
live in the world, and so that really touched me, and it was just so moving for me that that these people who might never go to an art gallery went to see my stuff, but on the other hand, I never wanted those friends of mine to feel uncomfortable around my work. You know, I always wanted them to feel, you know, this might not be something. And honestly, you know, most of my peers, you know, don't look like me, but honestly, most old people, they do actually know who Jimi Hendrix is. You know,
Of course.
You think they do. You think it's, oh, I'm the only guy who knows this. You know, but you know, and you know, they do. They, you know, yeah, my mom had a John Coltrane record. You know. So I never wanted those people that I really spend my time with. I always wanted them to like what I do, you know, and that's just been the greatest blessing for me, you know, to be able to live in that world, you know, because I'm kind of a blue collar guy. Not necessarily, not that I wouldn't mind being a rich guy,
Mm-hmm.
but to be able to do something hip, you know, for people who need that in their lives, you know, for people who don't get that as much as they should, you know, that's almost like a mission, you know, for me to do. I actually, I'll send you some. I actually also do a lot of just black and white posters, and I just give them away. I'll go off wherever, you know, different towns, you know, and I'll just, you know, tape them up on lampposts. I've probably given away, like, you know, 2,000 Xerox copies of these pictures, you know, just out in places where you might not normally expect those kind of things, and you know, hopefully even if just one person's like, wow, what the heck is that? I'm gonna take that home. That looks cool, you know. That's a great thing, you know. If I could do that, you know.
Yeah, it sounds excellent.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Let me ask you something real quick.
Of course.
I'm gonna have to transcribe this, and it will take me a couple days to do it.
Yeah.
Is it all right with you if I send the transcription to you, because there were a lot of names in this, and I'm not, you know, I can't spell check names. So
sure.
If you just skim.
I'm really incompetent on the computer, but okay. Sydney Sime, SIME, Apple, APPEL. There you go. But of course, you could say that. That would be fine. It'd be fine. I'm sure you'll do a great job. You know.
Thank you.
Transcribe with a Florida accent. Okay, I'll tell you this. I'm playing with Marshall, and we're in Leeds, England, and like the town council takes us out to dinner. So we're at some restaurant, and we order, and the waitress, she stops. She's like, "Are you from Florida?" I said, "I am." She's, "You have a Florida accent." I said, "Actually, I do. I actually do." You know, most people don't. You know, it's kind of slow. Everybody thinks you're stoned. You know, like Tom Petty, Thurston Moore. You know, it's a Florida thing. But no, you take your time, do whatever you want. I'm sure it'll be great, and I'm flattered. And if you want to call, you know, I can clarify, you know, whatever, pontificate at length upon many subjects, few of which I am qualified to speak about. But yeah, you call any time, Ryan. All right, and you have a nice night, and I'm looking forward to. I'll check out some of your icons and I'm looking forward to hearing
All right.
some of your records and stuff. All right. Thank you so much for calling. Okay.
All right, Ed.
Awesome. Have a great evening. Thanks, Ryan. Bye now. Talk to you soon.
You
Don't be
too.
a stranger.
All right.